the Nazis were also the first groups that were contacted by the white Dracos. I think they were the first groups within the Aryan timeline, so to speak, to be contacted. I think that these seal systems not only apply to the Aryan timeline, I really feel that these were being implemented ultimately at the beginning of the last Lemurian timeline of the Lemurian Holocaust. And so I think they've been here the whole time. I think they've plagued the energy through the Atlantean timeline as well. But I think that they made their debut, so to speak, in the Aryan timeline, which is where we really were able to come to see this. So Draco has been here experimenting on humanoid reptilians before this grander experiment of modern man came to be, within 40 to 60 super federation groups participating in the coming of the angelic humans 500,000 years ago. If you took my Starseed expansion course, I really went into the history of the Dracos and how I do actually fundamentally, and this may go against the grain for some of you, but it's my own personal belief. I do feel that they were one of the primordial original races that were here on this earth, that they were here, they were subterranean prior to humans' existence, that they were a part of the evolution of the dinosaurs. I went into all of this in my Starseed expansion course, like really ancient galactic history. So if you want to get more of this history, I would recommend taking the Starseed expansion course. But essentially the Dracos, they stronghold many systems. Particularly, they stronghold the Orion system, the Betelgeuse system. I mean, multiple systems within the Orion system, the Betelgeuse systems, the Rigel systems, the Safe systems, aspects of the Mintakan system. I mean, they're pretty much all through the Orion system. They stronghold Altair, which is upholding that white eagle grid, or that Achelan matrix frequency fence on the earth. They uphold the Falcon frequency fences systems on the earth. They also uphold the Dragon, the Draco frequency fence on this earth that's running extensively through China, that's running extensively through Wales, that's running extensively through I think Indonesia. And so they're also really running extensively through the Aldebaran system as well. And ultimately, the Dracos have hybridized 75% of other star races in our universal system and have dominated their mass hybridization programs in the Aryan timeline. So here is where the Aryan occult seals were placed and solidified in the organic earth template. I want to also state that not all Dracos are bad, okay? You can be a Draco Starseed. And I have lots of friends who feel they're Draco Starseeds. Sethicus is one of them. He feels he's of a Draco origin. They're not all bad. At the same time, they're all going through the same ascension processes as we are here on Earth, right? They're still going through the rehabilitation of their 24 strands of DNA. They're still trying to ascend and go through the same processes as all of us. It's just that there are certain factions within that Draco system that are negative. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about this, that there's good and bad in each system. And I don't know if that's necessarily has to be the primary focus all the time. It's just kind of like identifying the groups in these particular systems that are essentially working within the negative agendas and ET agendas here on this earth. Now, the Aryan cult seals were placed by Draco Anunnaki hybrids. I've expressed to you guys in the other classes, I do feel that the Anunnaki are underlords in the Draco system. I've had diagrams in the past that I've kind of presented and showed you how their tiers work. I don't have that picture here today, but it's one that I've used in a lot of my demonstrations and videos I've used in the past. But essentially, I think it's a good mix between the Aldebaran and the Orion systems, within these hybrids when we're specifically speaking of the Nazis, right? Because we know for a fact that Aldebaran was a system that contacted the Nazis as well in terms of technologies they brought forward, in terms of bringing forward the flying saucers, in terms of bringing forward the Bell technology. And I think that was channeled by a psychic called Maria Orsic. You guys might be familiar with some of this information, but I think she was channeling through the Aldebaran system. But what's happening is it's preventing ascension capacities globally, which will continue to affect the 6th root race's development. These are probably the greatest danger to Earth's population as we head into that 6th sub-root race. Because if these distortions don't start getting cleared out of the Earth, what's the future going to look like for the 7th root race, right? It's going to be, they're going to be carrying these into that timeline. And again, we're going to be fighting these battles into the aeons. So the Draco hybrids, the Altairs, the Zetas, the Greys, the Orion hybrids, the Anunnaki Draco hybrids, these are the ones responsible for the placement of all of these seals placed in the South Pole region. I think this is where they've kind of capitalized for maybe the core generation systems of these particular technologies is Antarctica, and they've kind of centralized these particular seals and distortions into the central planetary tonal line. So actually the 0-point field of the planet. And they're running underground seal matrices, they're running crystal grid seals, all kinds of manipulation technology here affecting the pole shift, affecting planetary modification technology, affecting firmament manipulation, and solar, sun, and planetary manipulation as well. So I have no one can stop these J seals and DAO seals from occurring planetarily. I put that because we've yet discovered how to actually fully combat this, right? We know we can do these biological removals within our own divine will, our own free will, and we can even work on the planetary field. But we've yet to really kind of come across the technology where we know how to fully stop this from occurring inside of the planet, as they were installed into the organic grid by highly influential and powerful beings working at the core of the Atlantean and the Aryan occultism secret networks. Crystal, so she said, Alatra says, just to clarify, crystal grids are inorganic or hijacked. Crystal grids are organic. Not all aspects of them are hijacked, but certain areas in the grids, they are hijacked. Certain areas have been tampered, and some areas are blocked and are running artificial timelines and matrices, fallen systems, wormhole systems, and they've encoded and tapped into the power and resources in certain locations of the crystal grids to run and power their underground bases, which ultimately power their frequency fences. So some areas of the crystal grids are hijacked, but not all of them. Not all, like underground crystal caverns. There's still a lot of pure areas, but again, when you think about the hijacking of the crystals, we think about how much crystals are getting mined out of the earth. I mean, that's technically a form of hijacking. The diamond mines all over the earth are pretty much bare. You know, they've all been mined out of the earth. So that's also another form of hijacking. Bass says, are you doing seal removing in the grid work that you do, as if you can do it on body, you can also do it in the earth? We do focus on that in our grid work. Seal removal, honestly, I found it comes through more when we're doing boots on the ground work versus the remote sessions, but it does come up in both. And we do work on seal removal as much as we possibly can and focus on it when we feel like it's applying to the areas of the grids that we're working on, definitely. So each of these seal matrices are riding a sealing current that activates a particular stellar cycle, astrological alignments, and what appears to be mass dramas is usually the activation or blockage from one of these seals. So when we see things going on in the world, when we see these wars playing out, okay, when we see everything that's going on that's basically catapulting humanity into chaos and mass levels of destruction, essentially it's all coming from these seal systems within the earth. So each set of these seals is anchored through a seal matrix, and a lot of them are tapped into crystal grid systems that are causing landmass memory to seep into the soul rivers of the earth and continue to affect every aspect of human existence and collective manifestation fields. But the great and most beautiful thing is we are actually at the cutting edge of these energetic sciences that are allowing us to remove seals and implants related to generational curses, ancestral suffering, the dominating superior race complex disadvantages that are basically happening here on the earth, galactically and human, and all of the hierarchical oppression designs. So science is designed for collective healing and sending reverse reverberation messages to the earth's race morphogenetic field and interconnecting communication networks for new earth planning and design. So again, as you've seen yesterday in the J-seal removal, it's one of the reasons why I really highly focus on that biofeedback system when we're dematerializing, when we're alchemizing, when we're releasing the seals into the Earth's star core fire for transmutation, that we're also sending this biofeedback message to the Earth's race morphogenetic field that we are rebuking this living consciousness. We're rebuking this energy here that's not serving the inhabitants up on the top of the mantle here. So we are working through intention, we're working through command, we're working through our breath work, through release, and through subliminal communication with the spiritual realm to do our best to clear this from the planetary